Hello everybody and welcome to the next instalment in the NCTJ Summer School series. Today's topic is news gathering skills. Now my name is Emma Robinson and I am the accreditation manager at the NCTJ. Before joining the NCTJ I worked as a reporter at NewsQuest Essex. I joined as a trainee reporter, then became a crime reporter before becoming a news editor. So I know from experience that one of the most worrying things about starting out as a reporter and joining a newsroom, and even later down the line in your career, is about finding stories. Nobody wants to have an empty news list, and today we will run through the ideas and tips of finding stories and how to set the wheels in motion about getting those stories. So we'll run through where to go for your stories, building up your contacts and good sources of information, and those first steps as well, finding the right people to approach for your story. And we also have another session in the Summer School series all about techniques for an effective interview, the next step in this process. So, first of all, where to go for your stories. Now, contacts are the lifeblood of all journalism. Contacts give you that local knowledge and information relevant to the patch that you're covering and the community that you're serving. You can build up contacts both online and in real life. So I'm now going to run through the different types of contacts that you will make. So I think the easiest way to make contacts is to go and meet people. Every area has their own movers and shakers, so they've got like council chairmen, mayors, the people who are making real difference in their areas. So find out who the council chairman is, find out who the chairman of the various committees are. And think about the services who operate in your area. Get the contacts at the fire station, the hospital, police, etc. Sign up to their wires and alert systems so you're the first to know what's happening from those systems. And follow their social media accounts as well. Often the police put out on their wires the most important stuff, but then on their social media accounts they can include more often light-hearted and other types of content on there. So you want to cover all bases. Think as well about the shops in your area. People love a story about shops, what's going on in their local high street. Get to know the independent businesses. They're the ones speaking to everybody every day, aren't they? And what about the Chamber of Commerce as well? They usually have a chairman or a president who will often act as a spokesman for the organisation and give more general opinions on the state of business in your area as well. And think about clubs and societies. So many towns have a Rotary, a Round Table, a Lions Club, something like that. And there'll be other interest groups as well, such as motorists, gardeners, hobbies, mums groups, church groups, and community groups with interest about particular areas. The list is endless, so make sure you get to know these people. And these groups often have an online presence as well. So there's groups on Facebook. Ask to join them and introduce yourself to the admin as that you're a reporter or a journalist. And more often than not, they'll be happy to have you there, especially if you introduce yourself and explain why you're there and that you want to report on their community. And quite quickly you will find that these people offer a regular stream of news, and often some contributions are few and far between as well. So I think treat everybody equally. You never know when the occasional contributor might turn into a major source of news as well. And get to know these people well enough so that they can phone you, email you when news breaks. That takes time and depends on them having the confidence in you. So I think the key thing is to build up their trust. If you report on the news accurately, fairly, ethically, and they enjoy meeting you, then they'll be in your corner. I think trust is vital. And a similar principle applies to online contacts as well. These you'll build up through social media such as Twitter and Facebook, and you may never meet these people in real life. But through regular interaction online and them trusting you, they'll become like friends and good sources of information too. Now, a key thing that's really important is to build up a contacts book. So all these people that you're making contact with, put them in a book or online so that you can find these contacts easily and in a system. And if you have an online contacts book, please make sure that you back it up somewhere else as well. And it's also a good idea to put in your contacts book your name and your contact number as well. So, if you ever put your contacts book down or you leave it somewhere, it's important that you get that back. I know a few scary situations where journalists have left their contacts book and feel like their lifeblood is ended. So next up, finding stories isn't just about the contacts, there are other sources of information as well. So we've got court, both magistrates court and Crown Court include a wealth of strong stories about people in your patch. So make a note of people when they are charged, and you can see when they come up in the daily court list, so that you'll be able to know when they're coming up and when their stories will be relevant. Council meetings and council agendas are also a really good key source of stories. Councils make decisions that affect people's lives in the area that they live in. So make sure that you're on top of council agendas and committee meetings. And think about any other groups in your area that have a presence and publish details of what they're doing. For example, in the first patch that I had in Malden, they have a carnival, and they produced carnival committee minutes as well, which are always a good source of information. Another key place to get your stories is follow-ups. Make sure to follow up the stories that have appeared in your paper before, and make a note in your diary to check the progress of these stories. So, for example, a planning application might have gone in to build a massive LD, and that decision is probably due to be made in the next week. But if you check the planning portal, there might be loads of objection letters all of a sudden. So keep an eye on developments of the big stories that are rumbling on in the background as well. You never know, every time you check that planning portal, there might be more updates that you can report on. And think about using social media as well to reach out to your readers. Maybe you want to gather up photos of their kids on their first day of school for a nice feature, or you want to do a for or against piece of different opinions, so you can reach out to your readers that way, getting their views there. So now you've got your idea for a story, you've found a story, what are the next steps? You need to think about the people that you want to approach for information. So maybe you've already found that information from your source, and you've got that information in your quotes down already. Or maybe you need to make a list of potential sources of people or organisations which have useful information for your story. So you need to speak to people to give a rounded picture of what's happening and what's going to happen as well. So for some stories, you may need to speak to more than one person, especially when something is potentially controversial. More than one source is a necessity. You have to avoid single sourcing these stories. So where there's a conflict of information, you need to have a wide range of sources. And sometimes these conflicts can't be resolved, and you have to report on what both parties say as well. Now, a key thing is to ensure that you go to the right person. If a story is about a residents' association, seek out their official spokesperson. There may be a press officer, or is there a chair or group secretary or something. A member of the association may be able to provide useful information, but I think only an official of that group can properly speak for that organisation. Equally, on a bigger scale, for example, a police constable may be empowered to tell you about a particular crime or a small-scale crime or an event or something like that, but they cannot be an official spokesperson for the whole police force. You have to think about when you have to go to that particular police constable, or when you can actually have to go to their press office as well. As well, always make sure you note who you're speaking to, and you know who it is. Always ensure that they understand that they may be quoted in an article or a report or broadcast online as well. It's always important to make sure that everybody knows the state of play and that they know that you're a journalist as well. Some people also may insist that they want to say things off the record, and I think it's worth asking why. Often, if challenged, the interviewee cannot think of a good enough reason. So if this fails, ask which parts could be used without causing problems, and as a last resort, ask if the information can be used without attributing it to the source. And I think it's also worth noting that information isn't confidential. So if you get that information from one person but they say it's off the record, there's nothing stopping you from going to another person and getting that information another way. So that's always worth thinking about as well. So I hope all that information helped. We've talked about which contacts are worth getting for good sources of news and other sources of information like courts, councils, etc. So good luck with your news gathering, and keep a lookout for the session about interviewing skills as well, which is the next part of the process. Once you've got your source of information, who you want to go to, how then do you interview them to get the right information for your story. So thanks very much and goodbye.